Welcome to my channel where OP rents a security camera only to catch his wife hosting parties every weekend. Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway 4892. So this happened about 3 years ago. Back then, I was an anxious mess and very insecure in my relationship. My wife would go out with her girlfriends every weekend while I stayed home. She left around 10 a.m. So I checked the footage at noon. I must have watched it 50 times trying to piece everything together. She freaked out and admitted to everything. She said that she felt guilty and that's why she stopped by the liquor store and bought a bottle of wine for me. I threw that bottle across the room and told her I was going to expose her. She begged me not to and promised that she would change. But I was done. I couldn't trust her anymore. Harry's sister, my wife's mom, had a big problem with her brother. We'll call him Tony. Tony did things that disgusted her. It was a nice computer. Nothing fancy, but it would serve her well. We opened it, and inside were all of the computer parts, plus a hidden camera. My wife and I were shocked. We looked at each other and said, "What does this mean?" Harry said to check the back of the computer monitor. We unplugged the monitor and turned it around. On the back was a tiny screen showing the current date and time. At that point, my wife told him that we knew what he was doing, and that we would tell her family if he didn't leave. His face went pale and he started shaking. He quickly gathered his things and left. And it was filming my parents having a massive fight in the kitchen. Thanks for watching. I shut it off so fast, but not before I heard my dad say, "Clean your room." And my mom yell back, "No, clean yours." Oh man, it's amazing how technology has advanced. Like, think about it. Back in the day, if you wanted to spy on someone, you needed a bunch of expensive equipment and expertise. Nowadays, it's like anyone can do it. Like, what do you need? A cell phone and a little bit of technical know-how. Which is kind of scary, but also hilarious when you think about it. Harry told us to plug it in and leave it on. My wife's mom is happy and free of her abuser. My wife and I are still together, and we still have the computer monitor. The problem was that he kept all the parts in his garage, and he was taking a long time to build it. Once we even saw Tony push her down the stairs. Each time we would watch, we would be horrified. We knew we had to do something. So he asked my wife and I if we could keep some of the parts in our basement, until he was ready to build it. We agreed, but we put the parts in a box and locked it in a closet. Neither my wife nor I used that closet. It was pretty much just storage. He was arrested several times for assault and other domestic violence-related charges. Her family tried to intervene multiple times, but he would just laugh and tell them to mind their own business. I moved into a hotel, and we eventually got a divorce. I still have the footage somewhere on a hard drive, but I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I just wanted to share this, because it always sticks with me. If you ever feel like your partner isn't being honest with you, trust your gut and get to the bottom of it. We didn't want to unplug the monitor from my wife's mother's room, because we were afraid that Tony would hurt her more if he noticed it was missing. So we ran an extension cord from the monitor to the living room and watched Tony get busted. Don't let them lie to you, or worse, disrespect you. He walked into the kitchen, grabbed a glass, and went to pour himself a drink. As he turned around, he saw the second monitor. He freaked out, dropped the glass, and ran to unplug it. As he fumbled with the cord, he ended up knocking over a chair and breaking a lamp. He was freaking out at that point, trying to find the outlet and yelling obscenities. My wife and I were laughing hysterically. Then he saw us laughing and asked what was so funny. We lied and said nothing. He left the room, and we kept laughing. The thing that made me the most upset was the fact that none of them seemed to care that I was literally standing 20 feet away recording them the entire time. Dude, I gotta say, it takes a special kind of person to pull off something like that week after week. Also, the fact that she used her boss as a front, dude, that takes some serious acting skills. Like, she really sold it, didn't she? And the fact that none of them noticed the cameras. I mean, you really had some seriously in-depth footage there, man. I can only imagine how shocked they would be if they ever found out. Not a single one of them noticed. That was the final straw. I was done. Like, they're having their secret little party, and they're thinking, "Oh, we're so smart. Nobody knows about this." Meanwhile, you're right there recording the whole thing. You were the only one who knew. It must have been like the biggest shock of their lives when they realized they were being recorded. I honestly do think any amount of beer or weed could make up for that kind of betrayal. Nothing. She wasn't back yet, but what I saw made me extremely uncomfortable. There were 4 random men in my basement drinking beer and watching something on my TV. I immediately felt sick to my stomach. I mean, I had no idea my wife even knew these people. I watched the entire thing from start to finish, and it only got worse. First, there were 4 dudes. Then a 5th showed up. They were all drinking my beer and smoking my weed. My wife came in about 30 minutes after I started recording and joined them. Before long, there were 7 guys in my basement. All of them were friends or coworkers of my wife. One guy who arrived early was actually her boss. Another was a married guy who was having an affair with her. I'll refer to him as Guy B. Another guy was a close friend of Guy B, and he was the one who brought the hookers. There were 3 in total. I didn't see anything explicit, but there was a lot of intimate touching going on. These guys would spend all day smoking pot, having sex and drinking until they passed out. My wife's boss would often buy rounds of drinks, and the rest of the guys would pay him back by bringing him weed and hookers. Once they all passed out, my wife would grab the car keys and take one of them to the bar. She'd do this so they wouldn't all drive drunk and get pulled over. This would happen every single weekend. Same guys, same routine. It never changed. She'll be gone for the entire day Saturday and all day Sunday and come back with some vague story about how she went shopping or to a friend's house. I never really believed her, and I don't think I really trusted her at all. Well, one day I finally reached a breaking point, and at that time, my father-in-law had just retired and bought himself a nice little surveillance system for his own peace of mind. So I asked if I could borrow it. He agreed, and I put the cameras in my basement, front yard, driveway, and pointed one right at my back door. Then I waited. A few days later, my wife headed out for another girls' weekend. By the end of the 3rd day, I had enough footage to fill up 2 hard drives. The moment my wife stepped through the door, I confronted her. Yeah, rightfully so. And just think about it. You know, those guys probably thought they were pretty slick, right? Our next Reddit post is from Benny62. The info in this story comes from my wife's uncle, who we call Harry. Harry had recently gotten into the hobby of building computers, and one day he built one for his sister. One day Harry called us and told us to check the box. For the next few weeks, we watched on the monitor as Tony terrorized my wife's mother. We saw bruises form and heard her scream. One day we decided to set up a second monitor in our living room. What happened next was priceless. We were watching on the monitor as Tony came home drunk. After a few minutes, he came back into the room and demanded that we tell him what we were laughing at. We never saw Tony again. That reminds me of the time I pulled my Roomba vacuum out of its charging station in the middle of the night anyways. That is today's video. And if you liked it, please hit the like button, because it really helps the channel grow.